Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei is the son of the true Satan part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video and also share this video with your friends. I have created my other videos playlist, there you can watch my all videos easily, check out as well. Let's start this video. Prologue. A young boy is currently kneeling next to a bed with his father laying on it. "Dad, come on, please get better," a 10-year-old brown-haired brown-eyed boy said while crying over his father. "Issei, don't cry, what did I tell you? You mustn't cry, it shows weakness." The man with pitch black hair that's darker than the night itself and eyes that were as inhumanly red. "But Dad," Issei said. "I know, fine, you can cry, but promise me this. Once I'm gone, only cry when you know you're safe or when you lose someone you love. Because I fear I won't be here for much." Low cough cough. Issei's father was cut off when he coughed up blood. "Dad, hang in there," Issei yelled. Now let's take it back a few days earlier to see where this really started. 3 days earlier. Knock knock. "I got it, Dad," Issei yelled as he ran to the door. "Make sure you check who it is before you open the door," Issei's father yelled. As Issei opened the door, he was surprised to see his teacher from school standing there. "Sensei, what are you doing here today?" Issei asked. "Oh, Issei, my boy. I'm here to talk to your father. May I speak with him?" Issei's teacher told the boy. "Alright, follow me. Dad, Sensei is here," Issei yelled to his father. "Bring him to the dining room. I'll prepare some tea," Issei's father yelled back. So Issei brought his teacher through the house to the dining room. The house wasn't exactly massive, but it definitely wasn't small. It was a 2-story house with 2 master bedrooms, 3 guest bedrooms, and 4 bathrooms. Nothing fancy about it other than it being on the outskirts of the city. "Mr. Hyodo. It's so nice to meet you," Issei's teacher exclaimed. "Oh, likewise, Mr." Issei's father, who currently has brown hair and brown eyes like Issei, said. "Phillips, you can call me Phillips," Mr. Phillips told Issei's father. "Alright, Mr. Phillips, what can I do for you? I hope Issei hasn't been causing any trouble," Issei's father said. "Oh no, he's probably one of the best, well-behaved and on the top of his class in both academics and PE," the teacher said proudly. "Then what did you want to talk about?" Issei's father asked. "Oh, just regarding Issei's future and a few schools who are interested in boarding him. It won't take long. Is that alright with you?" "Oh yes, go right ahead." 15 minutes later. "But still, it must be hard taking care of Issei by yourself, being a single parent these days. It must be hard," Mr. Phillips said. "Oh no, I got used to it. And Issei helps a lot around the house, so it isn't that bad," Issei's father said. "Oh, I guess it wouldn't be that hard for you, Mr. Hyodo, or should I say Satan." Mr. Phillips' face contorted into a scowl as he finished. But in a split second, Mr. Phillips brought out a blade and flung it towards Issei, who was sitting between his father and his teacher. Issei's father's caught the blade inches in front of Issei's face, drawing blood from his hand. Issei's father's hair quickly turned black and eyes turned red as he glared at me. "Phillips." Issei's father quickly threw the blade across the room and started to walk towards Mr. Phillips as Mr. Phillips saw that he tried to move but couldn't. "Issei goes to the other room," Issei's father told the still shocked Issei. But Issei tried to talk, but no words would come out. "Issei, this isn't up for debate. Go. Now," Issei's father yelled. To say Issei was scared would be an understatement. First of all, he almost died seconds before, and now his father yelled at him. His father has never yelled at him for as long as he could remember. So Issei got the message and left as quickly as he could, leaving his father and his teacher in the same room. "Now then, where were we?" Issei's father said with his aura getting darker with every word. "Let me go, you bastard." "Now why would I do that? You come into my house, try and hurt my son. You should have realized by now you're not in charge here. You think I'm worried? That blade that cut you, it was poisoned," Mr. Phillips yelled. "You think measly poison can kill me?" Issei's father asked mockingly. "You said it yourself, I'm the true Satan, the one and only. The first. And the last. There is no one who can be me," Issei's father yelled with power resonating through every word. "You must be an idiot if you think we've been sitting idly, not thinking of a way to kill somebody that might have your power. Even we understand how dangerous somebody with your power could be. You have killed thousands of people and barely broke a sweat. And after you supposedly died in the Great War, we've been making a way to kill anyone that might even have a fragment of your power. But guess what? You show up on our radar after years and years of being missing. What could be a better way to test it?" Mr. Phillips yelled back. Once Mr. Phillips stopped talking, Issei's father started coughing uncontrollably. "You bastard, cough, you're going to feel hell," cough, Issei's father said with blood coming out of his mouth. "Who sent you?" Issei's father barely asked as he started to crush the man from the inside. "Fuck you," Mr. Phillips said as he spat out blood. "Suit yourself. Any last words?" "Go to hell," Mr. Phillips said. "Don't worry, I'll be following you there just to make you feel something worse than hell," Issei's father said as he lifted his arm towards Mr. Phillips. "Oh, one last thing," Issei's father said. "What?" Mr. Phillips asked. "See you in hell," Issei's father said with a demonic grin on his face. And, as soon as he finished, blood started to pour out of Mr. Phillips' mouth and eyes, and, as soon as he stopped moving, Issei's father brought his hand up once again, and out of thin air a mini cyclone of blood appeared, and he sent it towards the dead body. And once it dissipated, there was nothing left, just a swirl of blood on the floor. He then cast a barrier around his house that would stay up until he died, no matter how weak he was, but soon after Issei's father collapsed to the floor. "Issei, cough, come here," Issei's father barely yelled. "What happened, Dad? What happened to you? Where's Sensei?" "He's gone now, please help me get to bed, cough, I'm not in the best of shapes," Issei's father explained. It took Issei a few minutes to get his father upstairs and to the master bedroom, but in the end he did it, so he gently laid him on the bed. "Issei, cough." "What, Dad?" Issei frantically asked. "I don't think I'm going to last for too long, I need you to prepare yourself, I can't take care of you much long, cough." "No, please Dad, don't leave, I'll call the ambulance." "They can help," Issei said, starting to cry. "No, Issei, sadly they can't do anything about this," Issei's father said as he brought Issei into a hug. "And for the next 3 days it would only get worse. Back to current time." "Dad? Hang in there," Issei yelled. Issei tried everything to help, but nothing worked. His father's condition was getting worse. Issei's father started to puke blood this morning too. "Come on, Dad. You can make it. Please. Issei, come closer." Issei's father beckoned him closer. "What?" Issei said with tears streaming down his cheeks. "Top drawer left side, cough," Issei's father whispered as he pointed to the dresser across the room. As Issei went to the drawer and opened it, he saw a ring box. When he opened the box, he saw 2 rings, one was black with gold markings and one was white with red markings. He closed the box and quickly brought it to his father. With shaky hands, Issei's father opened the box and put the white ring with red highlights on Issei's left middle finger and the black with gold highlighted ring on Issei's right middle finger. They were too big for Issei's finger at first, but a magic circle appeared above each ring and they shrunk to fit Issei's fingers perfectly. "Dad? What are these for?" Issei asked. "There isn't much time for me left, so I can't explain with words. Come closer again," Issei's father commanded. As Issei got closer, Issei's father brought him closer until their foreheads were touching, and as soon as they touched, a black and red magic circle appeared, but in Issei's mind, he saw millions of pictures flash by, but he didn't know what they meant and he felt power surge through him. "What? What was that?" Issei asked. "Issei, I have given you all my knowledge and all my power." "What? What power? Why? Don't you need it?" Issei asked. "No, Issei, sadly my time has come." "Take this too," Issei's father said as he undid his silver cross earring and gave it to Issei. "What? No, no, no. Please don't leave me, Dad. Issei, I love you so much. I always will. Issei, I want you to know you will never be alone, I'll be there right behind you every step of the way," cough, Issei's father said. "Dad?" Issei said as he hugged his father. "Issei, from now on you are no longer Issei Hyodo. You are Issei Satan, the son of Satami Heir." "Dad," Issei said, still crying in his father's arms. "You are my son, I love you," Issei's father said as the light left his eyes. "No. Dad?" Issei cried over his dead father's body. As Issei sat there mourning over his father's body, some unwanted guests advanced towards the house after seeing the barrier dissipate. They then started to break down the door and rushed into the house. Issei heard this and quickly crawled under the bed, hoping the intruders wouldn't find him. "Hurry, get the body and find his son. We cannot afford to let him escape," a man with a gruff voice yelled as he burst into the room. Issei laid there shaking, not daring to move, as more people burst into the room behind the man. They then went to Issei's father and put him into a body bag. A minute later they took the body out and left the room. Well, that's what Issei thought. He breathed out relieved for a second, but soon regretted it. "Torch the house," the same man with a gruff voice yelled down the hallway as everyone left the room. He took one step outside the room and stopped. He sniffed the air and gave a maniacal grin. He then walked behind the bed Issei was under and stopped again. Issei by this point in time was about to pass out. He held his breath the entire time, hoping nobody would see him, but that was short-lived as he was forcefully dragged out from under the bed. "No!" Issei screamed at the top of his lungs as he kicked and flailed back and forth. "You thought you could hide? We wouldn't be that stupid considering how big of a threat you are. I mean, think about it. Did you think you could live a normal life when your own father was Satan himself? The man yelled as he grabbed Issei and tried to incapacitate him. Let me go. I don't know what you're talking about anyways. Issei yelled as he tried to escape the man's grasp. Oh? So your dad didn't even tell his own son what he is? Pathetic, and he died protecting you disgustingly. The man said with venom growing in his voice. Shut up. He's better than all of you guys combined. You're the disgusting ones. Issei yelled. Issei tried to escape over and over again unsuccessfully until he bit the man in the arm, making him drop Issei. Arg. You little shit. Get back here. The man yelled, clutching his arm where Issei bit him. Issei ran as fast as he could out of the room and down the hallway that was slowly getting engulfed in flames, but that didn't last long though, as he was cut off on both sides by a group of the intruders. Now, boy, why run? I just want to pay back what you did to me. You know, an eye for an eye. Except you know what they say. Pay them back tenfold. The same man who was bitten by Issei said. Issei looked back and forth trying to find a way out, but couldn't find one at all. The group closed in on Issei with weapons drawn about to apprehend him, but as soon as they were 15 feet away he saw it. The only way out the window. He didn't have time to think about it, so he leaped through the window getting large shards of glass stuck in him, but as soon as he hit the ground and rolled he felt stronger and the pain didn't hurt as much. So he ran straight to the tree line. The pursuers were close behind, but luckily he came to this forest a lot with his father, so he knew where some passages were, and so in the cold dark night Issei was alone clutching the only thing of his father's, his silver cross earring, and the 2 rings on his fingers. A week later. Issei was currently sleeping in a cave he found while escaping his pursuers that day. For the past week he could never truly sleep, his pursuers whoever they are never stopped chasing him, and so Issei was sitting in the cave alone in the dark shivering. And hungry since he never really got a full meal. The closest thing he got were some berries and plants he was taught by his dad he could eat if he ever got lost, but all of a sudden Issei is forced back to reality as he heard a branch break and a few footsteps coming closer. He finally saw a shadow making its way to the cave he was hiding in. He had 2 choices. Either lay down and hide with no way of protecting himself or make a run for it as soon as he steps into the cave, but failure was not an option. He quickly picked up a rock he found on the floor and prepared to run. As soon as the shadow stepped into the cave, Issei rushed him using the darkness to his advantage. The pursuer saw him at the very last second, but it was too late. Issei leaped into the air and smashed the rock into his pursuer's head, causing the man to scream in agony and fall back. Issei didn't waste any time as ran as fast as he could out of the cave and through the forest. I found him. Chase him. Issei heard somebody yell. And so he was on the run once again. He kept running until he stopped on top of a hill where there was no cover. It hurts, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I wanted to stop, Issei thought to himself as he tried to catch his breath. But out of the tree line all around him multiple people came out. He had nowhere to run this time, this was the end. Hey kid. Nice seeing you again. The gruff-voiced man from the mansion yelled. But Issei didn't answer, he tried thinking of a way out of his predicament. What happened? Cat got your tongue? The man asked mockingly. But Issei couldn't find any possible way out of this. Well, it doesn't matter now. The boss himself said we don't need you alive. You've caused enough problems. We can just experiment on you once you're dead. The man yelled. Now get him. The man yelled as multiple people started running towards Issei. As Issei stood there clutching his last memento of his father. This is the end. No, I don't want to die. Dad wouldn't want me to die. He wanted me to be strong, but he's gone now, Issei thought to himself. They kept getting closer and closer, weapons drawn, not even going to attempt to capture him. Dad? Please. Help me. Issei yelled. As soon as he yelled, the time itself seemed to stop, and in the next second all of the pictures that flashed in his mind from before flashed again, only this time it all made sense, and almost immediately after his hair turned jet black. And the eyes of his eyes turned inhumanly red like his late father's, and once he finished changing, a massive surge of power revealed itself for a split second, but in that split second it was felt throughout the entire world. Once everyone saw this they all stopped and stared in awe and fear. What are you doing? He just changed a little. He's still the same kid. Get him. The man who seemed to be the leader yelled. They then continued their march towards the now calm Issei. As soon as they got within 20 feet, Issei lifted his arm and all of them started to cry in agony. For a second the men at the bottom of the hill didn't know what was happening, but then one of the men who went to attack Issei turned around. Help. The man tried to say until blood started to flood out of his eyes and mouth. After everyone who rushed towards Issei stopped moving and was seemingly dead, everyone stood there staring in horror. You bastard. That was my brother. A blonde-haired man rushed towards Issei with a sword in hand. But, as soon as he brought the sword down towards Issei, he stopped mid-swing, and all of a sudden he started to scream in agony and clutched his chest in agony. Everyone else could only watch in horror as his chest literally exploded. "What, I thought he was never taught his father's magic," the leader said, horrified. "It doesn't matter. He's still just a child. Everyone. Attack. Those who survive will be granted everything they could possibly imagine. And the one who brings me his head will get something they can't possibly imagine." The gruff-voiced man yelled. Lucifer Castle, Underworld. A middle-aged man with silver hair is seen sleeping on what seems to be a throne, but is suddenly forced awake as he senses a power he hasn't felt for years. "Lord Satan," the middle-aged man yells as he stands up and stares in disbelief at nothing with his silver eyes. "Graphia," the man yells. "Yes, Lord Rizavam," a maid with silver hair and eyes wearing a French maid outfit asked. "Go to these coordinates in the human world at once. Whoever it is, bring him to me. Do not use force for any reason either. We want him on good terms. And if he doesn't trust you, tell him his real name." The now called Rizavam Lucifer commanded. "His real name?" Graphia asked. "Satan, now go. We don't have time, surely others have felt this power too, they are probably making their move as we speak." Rizavam yelled again. "I will depart at once," Graphia exclaimed as she left the room to teleport away. "Euclid?" Rizavam called for. "Yes, Lord Lucifer." A young man with silver hair that is tied in a braided hairstyle and wears a silver robe with detailed accessories asked. "Prepare to depart when Graphia gets back. I have a feeling things are going to get a bit more fun soon," Rizavam said with an evil smirk. Back to Issei. The boy no older than 10 with jet black hair and eyes that were inhumanly red, bathed in the blood of his enemies as he stood on top of a hill, but as you look at the big picture you will see at least 100 if not 200 bodies at his feet. Some were still intact, but others, let's just say, it wasn't a pretty sight. Issei then started to walk down the hill over the dead bodies without batting an eye, but as he got to the bottom of the hill a silver magic circle appeared. As Issei got on guard to fight another battle he saw the beauty that was Graphia. "Who are you?" Issei asked. "The child?" Graphia asked herself, totally oblivious of what was behind Issei. "I am Graphia Lucifuge. Who are you?" Graphia stopped in her tracks as the moonlight illuminated everything, letting her see him bathed in blood and all of the mutilated bodies behind him. "I'm Issei Hio no Issei Satan." Issei said not to put his guard down for a second. "Satan, this kid? Is Lord Satan? No, there must be a mistake, but then who did all of this?" Graphia thought to herself as she was still too shocked from the scene in front of her to speak. "So? Are you here to try and kill me? Or maybe kidnap me? No, the real question is, are you an enemy?" Issei said as all of the blood from the dead bodies started to float and go into the air and combine. As it was finished, there were multiple massive cyclones of blood behind Issei, ready to attack at a moment's notice. "What? No. I'm here to help you. My master sent me here to help whoever sent that surge of power. Trust me. My master thought it was Lord Satan, but he said if it isn't I should bring whoever it is. And he said don't bring you by force no matter what. He wants to help you and be on good terms." Graphia yelled, trying to stop Issei, cause quite frankly she was scared shitless. "I see, then I guess I can go with you," Issei said as he reverted back to his normal brown-haired brown-eyed form and passed out. Graphia quickly caught Issei before he hit the floor and prepared a magic circle to take him back to Rizavam. This kid is so young yet he did all of that, no wonder he passed out. He must have overexerted himself, Graphia thought as she carried Issei through the magic portal. At first it was dead silent as there was nothing there but dead bodies, but soon after hundreds of magic circles appeared everywhere of all different types. There were demonic, angelic, and fallen angelic. "No wonder we had to get zoned. The dirty devils and holy pricks are here," a random fallen angel exclaimed. "Right back at you, you horny crow," a devil yelled. "Please don't put us at the same level as these insolent fools," an angel said this time. The bickering went on for a few minutes until they heard 3 voices yell. "Enough." One voice was a man with shoulder-length crimson hair who was seemingly a devil, the other was a man with black hair with golden tips with 6 pairs of jet black wings, and last, but not least, was a man with long blonde hair and 12 golden angel wings. "Michael, Azazel, it's nice to see you here. I do hope we don't have to fight here, but I'm guessing you came for the same reason as us," the man with crimson hair said. "Yes, Urzix, I would like to resolve this peacefully if that's possible," the man with 12 golden wings who is called Michael said. "Same here," the man with black and blonde hair and jet black wings said. "Well, why don't we get to business? Do any of you have any idea what that was? And what did this do?" Michael asked as he pointed to the dead bodies everywhere. "Unfortunately we are in the same boat as you, but that seemed a lot like a certain devil who went missing in the Great War," Azazel said as he looked at Urzix. "And I'm the same here." Why would I rush here with a mini army behind me if I knew what it was? Surzik said not to be happy about being the culprit. Well, none of that matters now, it seems somebody beat us to the chase, Michael said. Indeed. Well then, how about if any of us finds anything we tell each other? It doesn't seem like something we should hide considering all three of us are here, Surzik asked. Sure. I agree. Well then, now that we have an understanding, I think we all have work to do, so I bid you all farewell. Michael said, as he and his troops started going back through their magic circles. Yes, the fun's over, I must go to see you. Azazel said, as he left too. Lord Satan, is it really you? Surzik thought. Let's go, boys. We're done for today. Surzik yelled as he and his troops left. Lucifer Castle, Underworld. When are you finally going to wake up? Issei. Rizavam says aloud as he looks up from his book and sees that Issei is starting to wake up from his slumber. Where am I? What happened? Issei groggily says as he sits up from the bed he was on. You, my boy, are in the underworld, and what happened is what I'd like to know. Rizavam asked. What? Who are you? How did I get here? Issei yells as he backs away from Rizavam. If you must know, Issei, I am Rizavam Livan Lucifer, direct descendant of the original Lucifer, and how you got here is because I sent my maid to find you after you let your power surge, and before you ask how I know your name, it's because my maid told it to me. Rizavam tells the young boy. And why are you helping me? Issei asks. Because first of all, you used magic that is very similar to someone I used to know, and you told my maid your name was Issei Satan, Rizavam explained. And? How should I trust you? Everyone else was hunting me because of my father. How do I know you aren't going to do the same? Issei asked. Wait, your father? Yes, my father told me he was Satan a week ago, Issei answered. Where is he? I need to see him. Rizavam yelled with hope in his eyes, but that was short-lived as he saw Issei start to tear up and stare at the floor. He's dead, Issei answered with tears streaming down his cheek. What? Satan was killed. Please, my boy, I know it must be hard, but how did he get killed? Rizavam asked, wanting an answer. The man said it was a poison. Poison, normal poison, can't kill someone like Lord Satan. They said they have been working on it since this thing called the Great War specifically for someone like him, Issei said. I see, that's a shame, Rizavam said as he sat back in his chair. And what about you, Issei? What did you do that made Graphia so scared of a mere child? Rizavam asked. I killed them. Killed who? My enemies, but I didn't just kill them, I mutilated them, butchered them, Issei said, clutching his head. Tell me, Issei, were they going to kill you? Or capture you and make you feel something worse than death? And did they not kill your father? And trust me, Issei, you are a devil. You can get rid of anyone you dislike. Rizavam explained while staring straight at Issei. I guess. Then it's alright. Anyone who is going to take a life should be prepared to lose their own life, and you are a devil, Issei. Anyone who takes from you should get punished. They killed your father, they didn't deserve life. Rizavam exclaimed. I see. Tell me, kid, do you want to continue your father's legacy? Rizavam asked Issei. I don't know. Well, think about it, what would make him proud? No, I will make my own legacy. Issei said with a determined look in his eyes. That's the answer I was looking for, kid. Rizavam exclaimed. Then let us go. I will show you what your father left you. Rizavam exclaimed as he stood up from his chair. Issei got up and quickly looked for the cross earring from his father, only to find it in his pocket. Before he left, he looked in the mirror and put the earring on his left ear. Once he finished getting dressed and so on, he left the room and followed Rizavam down the long hallway until he entered a throne room. Euclid. Graphia. Rizavam yelled. Lord Lucifer. Lord Rizavam. Ah, there you are. We are going out for a bit and I would like it if you accompanied us. Rizavam explained. Very well. Graphia and Euclid answered in sync. Euclid stared at the kid in curiosity while Graphia in slight fear. I mean, when do you see a kid who was covered in blood and supposedly killed at least 200 men just get brought into your estate? That's not that common if you didn't know, and poor Graphia, she saw the carnage Issei made in person. Alright everyone, I'll teleport us. Rizavam exclaimed. And so with a silver flash they were teleported elsewhere. Forbidden Land, Underworld. Lord Rizavam. Why are we in the Forbidden Land? Graphia asked. Because we are taking Issei here to his new home, or I should say his father's old home. Rizavam explained. They walked for about 10 minutes in the extremely overgrown forest, but were brought to a halt by a large fence and a massive gate with a red spiral in the middle of it. It's a dead end. How do we get in? Euclid asked. I don't know. Hey Issei, do you know? Maybe you put your power into it. Rizavam guessed. But for some reason it just clicked with Issei, he knew exactly what to do. So he brought his hand up and a small cyclone of blood appeared behind him, but he quickly sent it towards the red spiral on the door and with a loud clunk and other metal objects getting moved around or broken. But at last the door was open and the barrier surrounding the land opened up. You see? We can count on Issei here. Rizavam said happily as Euclid simply nodded. They then walked through the walkway that had overgrown vines and plants everywhere and then by multiple fountains of course none of them were in working condition though, but then Issei saw it. I saw a castle bigger than most cities and taller than most skyscrapers. Whoa. Yeah. They walked for another 5 minutes down the path, but as every second passed the castle just seemed to get bigger and bigger. Tell me Graphia, Euclid, do you know why this land is forbidden? Rizavam asked the siblings and not Issei because he already knew his answer. No. No, I wasn't informed. Well, after the Great War when Lord Satan went missing, this land was made into a somewhat sacred land, kind of the same way as the angels have their churches and so on. As their sacred grounds, of course we don't get any benefits from it though. So nobody is allowed here simply because we left it untouched in respect for Satan, and also nobody could break the barrier around it, Rizavam explained. I see, but isn't the punishment of being here death? Euclid asked. Euclid, my naive boy, do you not understand? This land is now Satan's again, or should I say his son's, and showing how he opened the barrier to let us in shows enough he's entitled to it. Rizavam said while pointing at Issei. Oh. Exactly. Mr. Lucifer? Issei asked. Yes, Issei. You said this was my father's and now it's mine, is that true? I'm going to be living here? Issei asked. Yep. And if anyone thinks differently I'll come here personally to back you up. Rizavam said with a grin. Wow, all of this is mine, Issei exclaimed with stars in his eyes. Finally, after another 30 minutes of walking, they stopped in front of two massive doors that went into the castle. Finally Issei said. You better get used to this because this is your house now, Rizavam said. Yeah. They all went on a tour, even though it was more of an adventure than a tour considering nobody knew where anything was. They walked all around seeing massive golden statues of random mythical beasts like griffins, dragons, unicorns, pegasus, basilisks, chimeras, and just about every creature you could think of. They passed a few libraries that could surpass some of the underworld's greatest libraries, and that was seeing them separately. If you put them all together, well, let's just say it could bring up some controversy. That's how much there was and how priceless they were. Alright, I think once we find the throne room I think we should take our leave. We have some business to attend to and should leave Issei here alone so he can get used to his life here. Rizavam said, but noticed Issei got a depressed expression on his face as he said, leave Issei here alone. So they kept walking and Rizavam thought about what he could do to help the kid, and then a light bulb appeared above his head. He had an idea. And so they kept walking, seeing multiple kitchens, many vaults of precious jewels and metals, and a lot of lounges, storage, and guest rooms, but soon after they passed the fifth kitchen, they found the throne room. Wow, this is bigger than your throne room, Lord Lucifer, Euclid said. No, as sad as it is to say, Satan was of much more importance and power than the four Mayu, Rizavam told Euclid. The four Mayu? Issei asked. Oh yes, I forgot you don't know who they are. The four Mayu, or should I say the four Satans, are the current leaders of the underworld. Rizavam explained. Satans, why do they use my father's name? Well, before the Great War there were four original Satans, or well, they were called Devil Kings back then, but soon after your father went missing after the war, everyone came together to agree that out of respect, the leaders of the underworld would be put into the class of Satan in honor of your late father. Rizavam explained again. I see, so my father was a big deal. Very much a big deal, Issei. You should be honored to be his son. He was one of the first devils. Even the four Devil Kings were named after all of the names he's been called over the years. Rizavam exclaimed. And what were those? Well, there is Lucifer, which was his first name before he left heaven, then there is Leviathan, then Asmodeus, and last, but not least, Beelzebub, Rizavam told Issei. Wait, Lucifer, are you him? Issei asked hurriedly. Oh no, he has long passed, I'm his son. Rizavam answered. Oh well, that's fine, so what's this great war? Issei asked. It's getting late, I'll have to explain another time. I'll come back to teach you magic and explain the basics for devils in a few days. Rizavam said as he looked at his watch. Oh, I see, well, goodbye. Thank you for helping me. And everything. I'll make sure to pay you back somehow. Issei said as he waved goodbye. Oh. I almost forgot. Rizavam yelled. What happened to Mr. Lucifer? Issei asked. I almost forgot about your housewarming gift. Rizavam exclaimed. The housewarming gift? Issei asked. Yes, I almost forgot about it too. I thought about it while we were walking around here. Rizavam told Issei with a grin. Oh no, Mr. Lucifer, you have done plenty already, I surely couldn't accept anything else. Issei exclaimed. Issei, my boy, you should know you are a devil now, it's okay to be selfish. And plus it's rude to decline a gift. Rizavam said. I see, fine, I accept. Good. Now Graphia. Rizavam called for Graphia. Yes, Lord Rizavam? Graphia asked, totally clueless of the situation. From this day on I am not your master. I'm putting you in Issei's care. Rizavam declared, making everyone in the room to widen their eyes in shock. What? Lord Lucifer, are you sure? Euclid asked. Positive. Issei here needs somebody to help him and keep him company, and Graphia needs somebody to open up to. So it's a win-win situation. Rizavam explained. But Graphia tried to say, only to be cut off by Rizavam. No buts, Graphia, this is an order. You are now Issei's personal maid. All of his orders are absolute, not even I can override his orders. Your lineage or not, I do not care. Rizavam exclaimed. Yes, Lord Rizavam, Graphia said in acceptance. Very well, then I must be off, Euclid. Let's go. Rizavam, as he sewn a magic circle. Bye, Graphia. Issei. Euclid waved goodbye. And so in a silver flash they were gone, leaving Issei and Graphia by themselves. Graphia, sorry, I didn't want to force you to be here. I know you would rather be with people you know and not somebody you just met, Issei said. Oh no, it's not that I don't want to be here. It was just a surprise. Graphia quickly answered, trying to cheer up Issei. Oh, I see, well that's good, I don't want to force you to stay here, but I'm glad, Issei said. Glad? Graphia asked. This house is too big for just me, and I don't want to be alone again, Issei said, as he thought about his father. Well, don't worry, master, I am here for you now. Graphia said, as she bowed to her new master. Master? Yes, you are my master now. Graphia explained. Oh well, could you call me something else? Is Lord Satan alright? Graphia asked. No, can you just call me Issei? Issei asked. What? No, I cannot do that, Lord Satan, I am your personal maid, I must call you something formal. Graphia exclaimed. I see, Issei said with a downcast expression. Unless you order me to call you Issei, Graphia said, as she noticed her master's expression. Really? Yes, all orders from you are absolute. Graphia explained. Then Graphia. For your first order I order you to call me Issei. Issei declared. As you wish, Issei. Graphia said with a bright smile. Unknown laboratory, underworld. A handsome young man with light blue eyes and green hair that is slicked back is currently sleeping on a lab table. Sir? A lab assistant asks. What happened? The green-haired man asked groggily. I'm sorry to wake you up, but somebody entered the Forbidden Land. At first I thought it was just some young devils exploring, but then they went farther than I've ever seen somebody venture in. I don't know if it's a glitch in the system or what, the assistant explains. I see, I'll go check the system, the green-haired man says. He then got up and went to a room with a bunch of monitors displaying most of the underworld, but on the main monitor was the Forbidden Land. At first there were 4 signatures, but now it seems 2 have left, the assistant explained. But mysterious green-haired man stood there in shock, not for the fact that 2 went missing, simply for the fact at how far they went into the Forbidden Land, simply because nobody could break the barrier Satan placed there, and yet there are 2 signatures in there. And there are no glitches in the system. Sir? The assistant asked worriedly. I'll be back. I'm going to go check it out. Tell all of my meetings for today that I had an emergency, sons. The green-haired man yelled as he prepared a magic circle. In front of the Satan territory, underworld. Everything is still intact, the barriers are still up. The green-haired man said as he tested the barrier. Well, only one thing to do, the man said as he walked up to the gate. Does this thing even work? Green said to himself as he looked at a doorbell on the side of the gate. Only one way to find out, he said as he pressed the button. Just a glitch, and I really, the green-haired man tried to say, only to be cut off by a silver magic circle appearing inside the barrier. And out of the barrier stepped Graphia. Ajuka? What can I do for you? Graphia asked in her normal stoic manner. Ah! So Rizavam, that old bastard, was the one to break the code. The now called Ajuka yelled. Pardon? Rizavam, he actually broke the code. Right? Ajuka asked. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but no, he didn't break any codes, Graphia explained. What? Then who opened the gate? Ajuka asked again. My new master did. Graphia answered. Your new what? Okay, no, that's not important, now may I meet your master? Ajuka asked again. I don't see why not, he seems bored. He just moved here today, Graphia said in thought. You do realize he could be put on trial, and maybe even death for intruding Lord Satan's territory, right? Ajuka exclaimed. Is that so? Anyways, come on, I'll take you to him now. Graphia said as she opened the gate, letting Ajuka in. After Ajuka entered, he walked towards Grafia and teleported with her to the castle, since it would take like 30 minutes if they walked by foot, and so they entered the castle that Ajuka normally would have stood in awe of, but had more important business to attend to. So Grafia. Yes. Who is your new master? And why did you leave Rizavam? Isn't in your blood to serve him? Ajuka asked. To answer your second question, I'm here because Lord Rizavam gave me to my new master as a housewarming gift. Grafia answered. And what about the first question? The real question is, will you believe me when I tell you? Obviously I've never thought of you as a liar, so who is it? Ajuka asked again. My new master is Lord Satan. Grafia answered with unwavering calmness. What? Can you repeat that? I don't think I understood you correctly. I thought you said Lord Satan, Ajuka said in disbelief. Then you heard correctly. What? Take me to him immediately. Is it the Lord Satan? The one who went missing after the Great War? The one pronounced dead? Ajuka asked. First of all, where do you think I'm taking you? Second of all, not exactly, Grafia answered. What do you mean not exactly? Well, it's not Lord Satan, it's his son. What, he has a son? Ajuka asked, still in disbelief. Yes. Then let us hurry. I cannot wait to meet this man. Ajuka yelled as he hurried Grafia. They walked until they came to a massive stairwell and then walked up every floor of the mansion until they got to the very top of the castle. There was one door there, that's all, there was nothing else at this altitude in the entire castle. Knock knock. Yes. A child's voice came from the other side of the door, surprising Ajuka. Issei, you have a visitor. Grafia spoke through the door. Come in. Issei yelled. As Ajuka walked in, he was in awe of the room for a second before focusing in on Issei. The room was the size of a small house and was furnished absolutely amazingly with a bed, an absolutely massive balcony, and a massive window that was basically the entire wall. But outside of the window showed mountains and forest and just the beauty of nature. Who are you? Issei asked. Issei, this here is Ajuka Beelzebub, one of the 4 Satans. At the moment he wanted an audience with you. Grafia answered. Wait, this is Satan's son, Ajuka exclaimed. Why yes, Mr. Beelzebub, Issei said timidly. Oh, please call me Ajuka. May I call you Issei? Ajuka asked. Sure. Alright, may I ask you a question, Issei? Ajuka said. Yes. Where's your father? Ajuka asked, and Issei's expression changed drastically. Out of all the questions, Ajuka, Grafia said. What? What did you expect me to ask? No, it's fine, I'll answer for Issei. It's not a good topic to talk about right now, Grafia explained. Very well. Issei's father, how you know him, as Lord Satan was killed a week ago. What? So he was alive? How was he killed? Ajuka demanded answers. From what Issei has said is after the Great War, an unknown group spent years and years making a poison for people with even a resemblance of Lord Satan's power. That was when they found Lord Satan and Issei, and they wanted to test the poison on Satan himself, Grafia explained. Still, that doesn't explain it all. Lord Satan wouldn't simply get poisoned, Ajuka said. That's because he was protecting me. The killer had a blade dipped in the poison and went to kill me. That's when my father caught the blade and ended up getting cut, and so the poison was in his bloodstream, Issei explained. I see, he died protecting his son, an honorable death, Ajuka said. And after that, they surely wouldn't have let you go so easily. Well, they didn't. I escaped from our house and ran in the woods from them for a week. That's when they cornered me and I had to kill them all. Then shortly after that I met Grafia and passed out. That's the last thing that happened before I woke up in Mr. Lucifer's house, Issei explained. I see. Wait, did you kill around 150 men? And were you on top of a hill at the time? Ajuka asked as something clicked in his head. Yes. So that was you. What was it? Yesterday we all felt a massive surge of power in the human world that strongly resemble Lord Satan's, but to think Rizavam beat all of us to the chase, Ajuka said in thought. All of us? Issei asked. When we got to the side after Grafia picked you up, we weren't the only ones, there were angels and fallen angels too. Ajuka explained. I see. Yep, but this is going to bring an uproar when people figure out Satan's son has come to the underworld, Ajuka said. Hey Issei. Can I have you keep quiet of who you are for now? At least until you're older and you can take care of yourself, Ajuka asked. Sure. Awesome. I'm not telling you to keep your existence a secret, I'm just making sure you don't go around telling the whole world. Trust me, this will help you and I both. Ajuka explained. Alright. And in exchange I will give you 5 wishes that can be cashed in at any time. Ajuka exclaimed. Deal. Okay, my work here is done. I won't tell anyone what happened unless one of the Satans ask me in person. I expect you to keep up your side of the deal too, Issei. Ajuka said as he sewn a teleportation circle. I will. Issei said as he waved goodbye. Oh. One last thing. Ajuka exclaimed. What happened? Issei asked. I just thought of something. Since you are of nobility, would you like your own evil pieces so you can build a peerage? Ajuka asked. Evil pieces? A peerage? Questioned Issei. Oh, that's right, you wouldn't know what they are. Well, after the Great War. Which I will tell you about another day. We were left in a predicament since it's very hard for pureblood devils to have children, and even if they could have them, we lost too many to do something like that. We needed an alternative, and fast, so I, along with a few of my best assistants, made a system called Evil Piece System. In short, high-class or devils born of nobility can attain the evil pieces to create servants of other races. You can even revive the dead, but sadly you have to do it within a certain time limit, and once you create a peerage you can play in the rating games, and the rating games are a form of entertainment for people and a battle for honor for all participating. But it could be very dangerous, so I suggest you don't participate in any for a while. So any questions? Ajuka explained. A few. Shoot. Ajuka wanted to answer the questions. Okay, first question, how long after their death can you revive them? Issei asked, thinking about his father. It depends how strong their soul is. I would say somebody of God class at most a day, so yeah, you're going to want to revive them pretty fast if you do want to, and before you ask, yes, you can revive a god, but you have to be on a godly level to do that, otherwise the evil pieces will reject them, so only a handful of devils have the power to do that, and even then it's mainly the lower tier gods. Ajuka explained. I see, and about them being my servants, doesn't that mean you could force them? Wouldn't that be bad? Couldn't they turn on you? Well, the only way you could force them is if you revive them, and yes, there are those who force them into servanthood, and there are some who treat their servants bad, but there are some like this noble devil family called the Grimory that treat their servants like family. And about them turning on you, yes, they can. These are the ones we call stray devils. They either kill or attack and flee their masters and are marked strays. Ajuka explained. And what happens to them? They are killed on sight. What? Yes. But what if they did it to protect themselves? What if they did it for good? Issei questioned. Yes, there are some cases of that. Sadly, it isn't a place to judge them. We have our rules, and if there isn't any solid evidence we cannot do a thing. Ajuka said. What if somebody made the stray into their servant? Issei asked. If you use your evil pieces that could work, but it isn't foolproof, so I don't suggest it, Ajuka said in thought. And what if they put them into a servant in other means? Issei asked, as he remembered something of his father's memory. Oh? And that is? Well, it's kind of hard to explain. A few minutes before my father died he did something so I would get all of his memories of his powers, and so on, and I remembered something he did to make some people into his servant, and they literally can't say no to you if he demands it, Issei explained. And that could work. They might test the so-called stray, but if they pass the test it could work, but how does it work? Well, something in his blood and mine works like a contract. Then there is some magic chant to finalize the contract, Issei explained. Actually, I think I read something about that in an ancient book. Really, could I see it? I mean, if I can, could I? I know how to do my father's magic, but I don't know how to. It's hard to explain. Like I can do it, I just don't know how to do it. Sure. I'll look at what I can find about his magic, but sadly nobody actually knows how to use his type of magic. It isn't taught anywhere, and he never told anyone, Ajuka explained. Thank you. No problem. So back to where we were, would you like your own set of evil pieces? Ajuka asked. I guess I may need them in the future, and if you're offering, Issei said. Alright, I'll come back in a few days to bring you those books and your pieces when they are ready. Alright, I'll be looking forward to it, Issei exclaimed as he waved goodbye again. Ajuka then made a magic circle to teleport away, but as he was teleporting he thought, maybe this kid could be accepted for a king piece. I'll have to test him. At night, Issei is currently trying to sleep but can't. His memories keep coming back to haunt him. Nightmare after nightmare torturing him in his sleep. That was when Grafia came up as she heard the ruckus. In only her nightgown she peered through a crack in the door, only to be frightened by the sight of Issei rolling around the bed in pain. But it wasn't physical pain, it was emotional and mental. Then she remembered something she read in a book before. When somebody is having a nightmare, it's best to lay next to them and cuddle next to them. What book did she read? The world will never know, simply because she destroyed it after she read it. She then laid next to Issei on the bed and brought him into a hug. Issei, it's okay, Grafia said as she patted his head. Almost instantaneously he stopped flailing around and looked peaceful. If one saw this scene they would think it was a mother comforting her son, and so they both went to sleep peacefully. 7 years later. We now see a teenage boy with brown hair and an aura that could only be described as magnificent, regal, beautiful, pure elegance, and yet horrifying and ferocious, and that was what you felt when he was sleeping. As he starts to wake up his eyes flutter alive with his brown eyes peering through. As he got up to get out of bed a hand shoots up to grab him by the wrist. Issei, don't go 10 more minutes. An attractive naked young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair, and hazel gold cat-like eyes groggily begged from his bed. "Kuroka, I've got work to do," Issei said stoically. "Naya, how mean," Kuroka pouted with clearly fake sadness in her voice. "I don't get why you keep trying, Kuroka. You know how he is." Another voice spoke up. Only this voice belonged to another naked voluptuous teen girl around Issei's age with silver hair just like Graphia, but had light blue eyes that Graphia didn't have. "Yeah, you're probably right, Vali, but it doesn't hurt to try. Maybe one of these days he'll stay," Kuroka says as she goes back to sleep with Vali. Issei then walks to the mirror and looks into it. These past 7 years he's gotten much taller, he stood at 6'1" and got much more muscular and attained several scars from a few endeavors. If you looked closely you would see he is wearing the 2 rings from his father on his left and right middle fingers and the silver cross earring on his left ear, much to the dismay of the devils around him. But behind Issei, something Issei has grown accustomed to ignoring stands there. A dark version of Issei standing behind him with jet black hair and jet black eyes taunting him, throwing insults at him and ridiculing him, doing all of that only to get attention. Most of the time Issei can ignore it, but in some cases scenarios that don't work, Issei quickly puts on his shirt and glances at a chessboard on his dresser. It would seem like a normal chessboard on one side, but on the other all the pieces were different. They were mutated. He quickly walked towards the door and opened it only to wait for a second. "Graphia, I'm going to need help, so get out of bed soon," Issei said as Graphia shot up with a bad case of bedhead and a little drool where she was laying. "I'll be down in a second, Issei," Graphia said in her stoic voice as she jumped out of bed and put on her French-maid attire. Issei then walked through the halls he grew accustomed to over the years. Everything was basically the same, only now it was very well kept, unlike when he first arrived. So he kept walking down the corridors he's gotten lost in many times, that's how big the castle is, and finally he walked past the throne room and into a room with multiple bookshelves and a desk and a few monitors, and he sat down on a chair and started doing his work, or should I say the odd jobs Ajuka let him do for future references. It was mainly political things, but sometimes he had to go in secret to eliminate a threat for him. He sat there doing his thing for another 30 minutes until the doors flung open, revealing a tall bespectacled woman with a voluptuous figure. She has tan skin, long brown hair tied into a bun with a headset, and purple eyes. "Issei, have you agreed yet?" the woman asked. "Kateria, would it hurt to knock?" Issei asked as he looked up from his desk towards her. "Well, have you the now?" called Kateria asked while completely ignoring Issei's question. "Have I what?" Issei asked even though he pretty much knew the answer. "Have you finally agreed on my marriage proposal? It would be a huge advantage to the underworld and especially the old Satan faction to have a child born from Satan's and Leviathan's bloodline." Yes, Kateria is one of the few people who know who Issei really is. It never was a secret, he just didn't go waving around a flag telling everyone who he is. "For the last time, Kate, first of all, I could care less about the old Satan faction and their problems, and second of all, I told you this way too many times, I'm not planning on marrying anyone anytime soon," Issei said with his calm demeanor not wavering at all. "Oh come on, Ice. Please. I'll be the best wife ever," Kateria begged. "That's enough, Miss Leviathan, can't you see you are disturbing Issei?" Graphia said as she walked in with Kuroka and Vali close behind. "Exactly. And I'll be his wife. Either way, I don't mind if he has multiple Nai," Kuroka said as she walked towards Issei and wrapped her arms around his neck and hugged him from behind. "No, I will be his wife," this time Vali exclaimed as she hugged his arm. "Oh? Are you two forgetting who told me they were going to marry me when they were a child?" Graphia asked with her normal tone, yet a small blush appeared. And so a fight over Issei happened with Issei stuck in the middle. They could have fought for much longer, but they felt an extremely ticked off aura emanate from Issei, and so they got the hint and quickly apologized and left the room, leaving Issei by himself. Issei went back to his work until he was interrupted by his phone, signaling there was a text message. It read, "Yo Issei, I was thinking of and thought it would be a good idea if you went to school. It would help you a lot with people skills and so on for future reference. Anyways, text me back if you do want to, I'll help you out with it, I already have a school in mind. 2 friends of mine have sisters who go there. From Ajuka Beelzebub." Maybe I need a change of pace," Issei said aloud. "And plus I feel like things could get a lot more fun," Issei said as he smirked to himself. A young man with brown hair and brown eyes is walking towards a large academy. His every step was magisterial. His aura screamed elegance, magnificence, grandiose, and many more names that one cannot simply name them all, but at the same time his aura was powerful, ferocious, and vicious. His aura was so intense yet breathtaking at the same time, and so Issei walked towards the academy that Ajuka helped him get into. He was wearing a white and light blue suit with his silver cross earring on his left ear and a black ring with gold highlights on his right middle finger and the white with red highlights on his left middle finger. As he walked through the front gate, all eyes were on him. Everyone was in awe of him. Even the guys who would normally curse the world for bringing another handsome dude into their school were in complete awe. "Whoa, is he a student?" a girl student asked. "Wow, so cool," a guy said this time. "Do you think he's transferring?" a girl asked. "I want to speak to him, but I'm kind of nervous," another guy exclaimed. "Yeah, I know what you mean. What's up with his clothes though? Amajuka, he could have at least told me what colors I should wear," Issei thought as he noticed he was the center of attention and wearing almost the complete opposite of colors from everyone else didn't exactly help. Everyone else was wearing a white, black, and red school uniform. After he walked through the building without interruption, simply because everyone was either stuck in awe or intimidated by him, he finally got to the faculty office and got his class schedule. He finally got to his class and stood outside of the classroom until he knocked on the door. "Knock knock. Come in," the teacher yelled from inside the class. As Issei walked in, the air was filled with elegance and the class immediately shut up. "Now would you please introduce yourself?" the teacher asked as politely as she could. Yes, my name is Issei Satan, but you can just call me Issei," Issei said as calmly as he could. "Satan? Satan like the demon king Satan? The one from the Bible?" multiple voices asked. Yes, it is spelled the same way," Issei explained. "Oh cool," multiple voices said. Now that he introduced himself, does anyone have questions for Issei here? the teacher asked. "Yes, Cadis," the teacher asked as she pointed towards a pink-haired girl. "Where did you go to school before?" Cadis asked. "I was homeschooled before since I was busy with other priorities," Issei said. "I see. Okay, what about you, Saji?" the teacher asked as she pointed to a blonde-haired teenage boy. "Issei, you're not a player, right?" Saji asked nervously as he didn't want somebody else taking all the girls. "No, I can confirm I am not. I do not have time for any serious relationships as of right now," Issei explained. "I see. That's a relief," Saji exclaimed. "Alright, that's enough for now. You can ask Issei more questions during break," the teacher said as she pointed towards a seat in the corner of the room by the window for Issei. The rest of the day was one of the most boring days ever for Issei. Nobody came to ask him questions or introduce themselves. Everyone was too scared that they would mess up or thought they weren't worthy to speak to him. He noticed a few devils but didn't care. He already knew they were there because of Ajuka, so he didn't pay any attention to them, but the devils paid a lot of attention to him. Unknown location. A beautiful young woman who appears to be in her late teens with white skin, blue eyes, and her most distinctive feature is her long crimson hair is sitting at her desk. "Kaneko?" the crimson beauty said. "Yes, President?" a short white-haired girl asked. "What was his name?" the crimson-haired beauty asked. "Issei Satan, I think he called himself." A beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure around the same age as the crimson-haired girl with very long black hair and violet eyes. "Issei Satan, what a coincidence he would come to a school inhabited by devils," the crimson-haired girl said with a grin. "What about him as president?" Kaneko asked. "Oh, yes, I almost forgot, I wish for you to follow him. Tell me if anything suspicious happens or anything worth noting," the crimson-haired girl told Kaneko. "President, with all due respect, I don't think we should try anything with him or have anything to do with him," Kaneko said, which surprised the Redeed. "And why is that?" the crimson-haired girl asked. "Just I feel something from him. It's like nothing I have ever seen. It's so potent even the regular students can feel it. It's like I don't even know, it's unexplainable. I just don't think we should mess with him or get on his nerves," Kaneko explained. "You see? I knew you would get it, Kaneko. I think he may have a sacred gear," the crimson-haired girl said as she hugged Kaneko. "President, that's not what I meant," Kaneko said while being suffocated by the bone-crushing hug. "Riaz? I think we should listen to Kaneko. She hasn't been wrong yet," the voluptuous black-haired girl said. "Akeno, trust me on this," the now called Riaz said. "I trust you, but Akeno is now called Akeno. Then it's alright. Kaneko, please tell this Issei Satan," Riaz exclaimed. Right away, Kaneko said, worried about the outcome. Thanks for watching this video. Part 1 is over. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the playlist that I have created and enjoy. Link is in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.